So many of you sent me this topic. I couldn't resist. Activists plant empty tents to encourage homelessness in Portland. A 27-year veteran of the addiction specialist industry. He's stating that he walks around on these streets, and there's video on this. You can check it out on our Discord channel. And he walks around and he literally points out, there's a brand new tent the activists have set up to encourage people to continue their use of drugs and their basically just, lifestyle on the streets that Portland has experienced and a ton of other cities have experienced where leadership has allowed them to do so. Now, this individual, this guy who's been walking the streets of Portland for 27 years, he says Portland's solution is all harm and no reduction. We've got that harm reduction theory. All harm, no reduction, because it's just getting worse. What's going on? Let's check out what this counselor has to say. Let's see what the dealio is in Portland per a longtime expert. Here we go. If you haven't already, love to have you subscribe to News for Reasonable People. Also, hit the like button and share this content with your friends and family. That's the best way to get it out there. Another thing you can do, if you like to support this channel, is check out our members only section on reasonabletv.com. That's our subscription service, putting content there every single week. It's the stuff that for one reason or another, you're not going to find anywhere else. Check it out. Oregon has one of the highest rates of homelessness, but Portland's solution is all harm and no reduction. Highest rates of homelessness, worst examples of providing people addiction services treatment. They're the worst. Portland, state of Oregon is like dead last. How can that possibly be? How are they worse than like West Virginia or somewhere that's just been ravaged, right? How are they worse than that? I don't get it. Big West Coast city. It's like, okay, let's go. What's in the water down there in Portland? On a sidewalk littered with tarps, bicycles, and discarded food containers, it annoys me to no end that these homeless encampments are just so effing dirty. They're just so disgusting. It's because the people have lost track of their lives. The lack of cleanliness in the homeless encampments, which translates onto the streets. It's just like people just take garbage and throw it everywhere. Reading comments this morning from a premier, and somebody said, hey, we used to throw our garbage out the window. We were farmers, and it was just kind of what we did in the 70s. Remember that commercial? You had the chief from the Indian tribe, and he would look at all the garbage on the side of the freeway, and a tear would come down his eye. Well, Chief would really be upset if he saw like a downtown Portland, wouldn't he? He'd go like, what is going on here? Little garbage on the side of the road is one thing. You guys are just out of control. And they are. Homeless just don't care. They just drop it everywhere. That's why trash pickup is such a big deal. Because if there weren't entities out there like We Heart Seattle, here in Seattle doing that, and We Heart Seattle as a division down in Portland, the city would look even worse, right? It would just like, oh, that's not good. That's not good. One tent sat farther away from the rest. It was clean with the rain fly removed, showcasing the vacant interior. And I saw footage of this tent, an example of what's going on. And what's interesting to me is that these tents don't fly away. Because I don't know if you've ever been in a windy environment where you haven't had your tent staked out, but when you're on the sidewalk, there's not a lot of places to stake that tent out. How do these tents not fly away? Maybe they do. I don't know. I got a feeling that people plunk their stuff in there as soon as one of these opens up. They're like, hey, clean tent. All right, no garbage. Let's go. Let's move in. We're home for the next couple of weeks. Let's do our drugs in here. And then they'll put the rain fly up. And so they got that privacy and they can do their drugs and light their tent on fire and, go down all that homeless encampment, avenues that they're going to do. So this is an empty tent erected by activists to encourage people to live in tents. Kevin Dahlgren said. He's the guy that's been doing this for 27 years. He's basically saying, hey, they're putting tents out here. There are literally setting tents up for the homeless because they want to encourage them to live there. What kind of message is that? Hey, we don't want you to live on this. Oh, we do. We do, to the point where we're going to literally pitch a tent for you. We're going to put it up for you. What else do you need to encourage you or to even consider? If I'm homeless and I hear somebody's even going to put up an effing tent for me, I'm there. If I'm doing drugs, if I'm, wildly addicted to drugs and I hear somebody's going to put up a tent for me, I'm like, man, I'm coming. Whatever it takes to get to Portland, I'm a coming. That's the message that activists are giving. I know that they think that they're helping out the community by doing this. You don't want to help people living on the streets. You want to get them into some treatment, because guaranteed, and even in this video, the individual says, hey, per statistics, 80% or more are addicted to drugs. And I think it's way higher than that. I think it's like 95%. And the other 5% are probably people with mental health care issues who don't remember that they need to be on drugs and probably should be taking drugs. You know what I mean? Maybe they're taking some illegal drugs, but some street drugs, any of which in today's environment can and will kill you. Dahlgren's day job is reducing homelessness in the city of Gresham, but he spends most of his free time talking to those who live on the streets of Portland. He often posts videos of his conversation on Twitter, hoping to shed light on the West Coast's dysfunctional system for addressing homelessness. It's wildly dysfunctional, isn't it? It's wildly dysfunctional. Had a text with, Jeremy Harris from Como this morning. And he said he was talking to some entities, some King County Regional Homeless Authority, who was asking for $12 billion to build housing to solve the homeless issue, but they wouldn't answer any questions about what this would actually look like. Literally, give us $12 billion, no questions asked. That's what I texted back to Jeremy. I'm like, no questions asked. We need 12 billion from you, but you know what you can ask us, mum's the word. We're not going there. Just give us the money. We need the damn money. Your questions, your thoughtful analysis of what we're proposing to do, which doesn't make any sense at all, because it doesn't make any sense at all. Unless you get these people some help, it ain't going to work out. You can't move people wildly addicted to drugs off the street into housing and expect there to be some magic turnaround. Ain't going to happen. Step one is getting these people some either psychiatric help and or addiction specialist help, because that's the real issue, isn't it? During his 27 years in social services, Dahlgren said he's seen a shift from permanent solutions to Band-Aid approaches. Yeah. When you're not actually helping the permanent solutions, the old homeless stay there and the new homeless come in and everything just grows, he said. So I think that is a really, really interesting analysis right there. When you're not actually helping the permanent solutions, the old homeless stay there and the new homeless come in and it just gets bigger and bigger. So that's what we had. That's what we had at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Because CDC said no sweeps. And so these homeless encampments, the ones that were already there, they didn't disappear. They just got added on to because everybody knew, hey, they're not sweeping us. Let's just make this party a little bit bigger. And you'll hear individuals talking about, say, Skid Row down in Los Angeles, how it is just a party 24/7. They're doing drugs day and night. That's what they're doing. And in these encampments, it's all based on drugs. They're doing a ton of drugs. And they've also kind of got each other to look out for each other, except when they don't catch that one dude who they just thought was sleeping. And turns out that individual wasn't sleeping. They were ODing. So you've got a lot of that going on. Oregon has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the nation. An estimated 17,959 people were homeless in the state during the nationwide count last year, 11,000 of whom were unsheltered. And I bet you got 20,000 unsheltered. Bet you got that, because counting the homeless, I mean, that's like herding kittens. It's just, okay, you're over here. Oh, right. You're over there. You can't do it. You're here at the store, you're moving there, whatever, you're going to get your drugs. Okay. We didn't know you were there. How many of those folks do you miss in a count like that? The state and its largest city have struggled to reverse the trend. I haven't seen any real permanent solutions being offered to anybody, said Anthony, who told Fox News he became homeless earlier this year. The most that I've seen is just, here, let me give you a really thin blanket. Let me give you a tent. A lot of that going on. Let me give you a tarp. To the point where the city commissioner, Rene Gonzalez, said, no more tarps. We're not doing any more tarps. We're not doing any more tents because homeless people are ending up in the burn unit at the hospital. Statistically, that's literally what you've got going on. So that whole throw a tent out there, we'll set it up for you thing. It's not really helping folks out, is it? No, it's just enabling a lifestyle to continue. What you need to do is you need to make it hard for people to do drugs because then that dissuades them from doing it, not encourage them, not take this attitude of, well, we're just going to let them do it anyway. I'm sure they'll make the right choice when they get to it. How's that working out? How many people are do we have record levels of OD going on right now? It seems that we do, don't we? It seems that we do. So argument is clear to be made that all this crap going on in Portland, stuff going on in Seattle, stuff with activists who want to say, well, we want to really make sure that the homeless have people looking out for them. Well, how about get them into a treatment center? How about that? Nobody wants to do that. They just want to look at how many units of housing can we build because they're going to get federal money to do that. But unfortunately, that doesn't help people get sober. And that's what they need the most. But, the powers that be and the politicians that folks in these environments have voted into place, they've got other agendas going on. And it doesn't appear that it's, anything remotely close to actually helping those who need help the most, which are the wildly addicted to drugs who can't make a decision on their own because they're just not in a mental place where they can do that. Anthony told Dahlgren that he's sober. So Dahlgren recommended he check out a transitional housing facility in North Portland because oftentimes you got to be sober to really take advantage of everything, of anything offered to you because they know you're just going to bounce out. If you're doing a bunch of drugs, most places are going to be like, nah, not so much. We got a big demand for our services. You smoking the fentanyl? Yeah, we're not dealing with you because you bring in a whole nother level here. We're not handling you. About 80% of the homeless have a history of addiction, Dahlgren said. And I bet you that's way higher. But it's, 80% isn't that far off of, that's 8 out of 10. It's pretty high. So in the wake of Oregon's first in the nation drug decriminalization effort, open air drug use has become the norm and bystanders have become desensitized, according to Anthony. They'll do their drugs right in front of cops and the cops don't do anything. Why would the cops do anything? This is a misdemeanor. They've got bigger fish to fry. Plus, even if they do arrest them, prosecutors aren't going to do anything. You've got a very woke district attorney in Portland, Multnomah County. They're not doing anything. They've got like half the population of their neighboring counties, and they've got double the population of their neighboring counties, and they are prosecuting about half of the levels of crime. Half. So you've got who knows how many, what level of criminal activity going on in Portland, and yet neighboring counties. There's even video out there of people that are like, oh man, I'm not in Multnomah County. I'm hosed. I'm in Washington County. I'm hosed. I'm actually going to have to do some time. When you've got that kind of admission going on where everybody knows, all right, if I'm in Multnomah County where Portland is, I'm home free because nothing's going to happen to me there. I'm golden unless I do something really, really stupid. And even then, you're probably going to get a hall pass, right? Widespread fentanyl is increasing overdose deaths and desperation among Portland's homeless population, Dahlgren said, contributing to the city's rampant property crime. That's the ecosystem, isn't it? It's bash those windows out, grab whatever it is. Because if you're addicted to something that's got fentanyl in it, or if you're addicted to fentanyl straight up, That is a brutal drug to come off of, and you're going to do whatever it takes to not feel, what you're going to feel when you go through withdrawal. So I don't like steal from stores. I try to keep everything like legal as best I can, said Josh, 33, as he huddled in a doorway for warmth on a cold February day, a lighter clutched in his hand and a blackened piece of tinfoil at his feet. I personally just panhandle. Yeah. I mean, you always hear the stories told to media when they're out there, but there's somebody else doing all the break-ins. Somebody's doing that. And you know what I'm hearing more and more of is people just basically selling their bodies for a couple of pills. You'll hear that time and time and time again because it's what they've got to work with, right? It's a gift that keeps on giving until it doesn't. I mean, and for those, vulnerable on the streets, especially women, and you don't pitch a tent for these folks to just think it's fine and okay to live there, because it's not. Not good. Nonprofits in Portland distribute clean syringes, pipes, and overdose reversing naloxone, Narcan, services they call harm reduction. The amount of lives that I've saved with the Narcan is amazing, said Matthew, who's been homeless off and on since 2013. I've saved like 20 people. And Kevin, the drug counselor, he basically said, hey, you've probably saved more lives than a lot of these, homeless counselors, homeless proponents have actually saved. Because you'll see so many of these stories where media goes in and they ask all these homeless people, hey, have you had anybody come out and check on you and just do a welfare check? They're like, no, nobody's come around. So all this money that's being spent on the homeless industrial complex, where is it going? It's an excellent question, isn't it? Overhead? Administrative salaries? Yeah. But Dahlgren called Portland's current approach to addiction and homelessness all harm and no reduction. They won't even offer the sobriety solution or the recovery solution, Dahlgren said. You're giving a person who already lacks critical thinking and rational thought the means to continue to use. And that's insane to me. And it feels at times really inhumane. And I think that's what most folks think as well. But folks that, voted this kind of stuff in, hey, let's decriminalize drugs. All right. It all works towards an end game that is this, where you've got city leadership handing out needles, handing out stuff to encourage the drug use. And they're not going down hey, maybe we should look at, some kind of treatment or detox for you. Not happening. I'm the first outreach worker to talk to him in 9 years in Portland, Oregon, Dahlgren said. I hear this every day. So where are they talking about the outreach workers from the homeless, that are supposed to go out and deal with the homeless encampments? And that's what I hear a lot of is, hey, where is the King County Regional Homeless Authority in all this? Where are their outreach workers? You've got, these hundreds of encampments running around and taxpayers are paying millions and millions. And now this homeless regional authority is asking for, I think it's 11.5 or $12 billion, but don't ask any questions. No, can't have that. Can't have that. Can't have you questioning, what's really going to happen. With hundreds of unsanctioned camps spread across 146 square miles, it's impossible to hire enough outreach workers to meaningfully connect people to services, including shelter, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler said. This situation is just so out of control, right? It's just wildly out of control. So what are you going to do instead? Well, in Portland, Mayor Ted has said, hey, we're going to have 6 big encampments. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people in these encampments. This is what we're going to do. And then they're getting pushback from the community. I can't imagine why. I would love to have one of those next door to me. I want 175 people in a homeless encampment right next door to me, none of which are being held accountable for their drug use. It's just, put them all right there. It's going to be good. This will work out fine. Yeah. How is this going to go? Well, for me, it's going to go great because, podcasts for days, but people who are going to lose family members in those homeless encampments because they're basically encouraging drug use, not so well, not so good. That's not going to work out. There's nothing humane about the situation in Portland streets, Wheeler said. Our collective goal should be to eliminate unsanctioned, unsheltered camping in Portland. What about dissuading people from using drugs? What about that? We're always talking housing. We need more affordable housing. Now, you can't put those people in that housing if they're still wildly addicted to drugs, because they're still going to go out and do their thing. They're going to rob. They're going to make bad choices. They're going to light things on fire. They're going to, smash windows. They're not going to be able to stay in their, housed environment. That's not going to work out. And we know this because we already try it on a regular basis. And how does that work out? Well, something happens and they're out of there, right? They're out of there. So you're not getting to the root cause by just putting somebody from a tent that you just erected for them and then moving them into housing. That's not going to do much. Wheeler expects the first of those camps to open by summer and hold up to 150 individuals per pop. Well, I guess we'll just have to kind of see how that goes. We'll just see. We'll just take a peek, see, and can't imagine this going well. I haven't heard much on Seattle's ability to choose a location. They're going to have 30 or 40 RV camps, homeless folks that have been living on the streets, going to move their RV camps. It hasn't worked in the past, but the definition of crazy is that you keep trying the same thing with a different result is what you're going to look for. So, we're going to try the RV lot again. We're going to try some more, just throwing people in housing. We'll see how that works. And in the meantime, you got a lot of people dying from drugs. You got fentanyl out there that's taking people out left and right, but we're going to ignore that. And instead, we're going to give them a tent. We're going to give them whatever they need to do their drugs. We're going to give them a thin blanket, and we're going to say, hey, good luck with that. Oh, and by the way, everybody else, tax-paying citizens, we need $12 billion, but don't ask what we're doing. Don't ask what we're doing, because we've got this handled. I mean, kind of, not really at all. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up in the next one. Bye for now.